Thank you for joining us at Books as Bad as Twilight podcast. This podcast will discuss books that may or may not be as bad as the popular series Twilight. As can be expected, we will discuss the books in detail, so spoiler alert.
We highly suggest you read the book beforehand or read along with us. You can use the link in our show notes to purchase the current book we're reading. Also in our show notes are links to the Books as Bad as Twilight website and all of our social media pages. Quick shout out to our image designer, Katie Hartung. Her website is listed in our show notes at khartgraphics.com. KHART graphics.com.
Music at the beginning of the show provided by Gabe Miller Music. You can find him on YouTube, SoundCloud, and his website, GabeMillerMusic.com.
Yeah, boy.
I love loud music so much.
Your playlist didn't have much loud music in it, though. Or do you mean, just full volume?
Full volume, but it depends. My music range is very...
Eclectic.
It's very broad and eclectic.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, the ones we were listening to were very quiet, but then,
Your spring playlist.
My spring playlist. I love that. Disney song, or, even... I don't know how to explain it, but there are others. I'll put them on when we drive to the...
There we go. Where are we going today?
We're going to a place called the Metropolitan. It's not that fancy.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's fancy, but it's not that fancy. We can go there.
So I'm dressed fine.
You're fine.
Oh, shit. I forgot a bag of clothes at work.
Oh.
Oh, well. Anyway.
All right.
Oops.
No, you're good. I just wanted to move that real quick.
Oh, no, you're fine.
So it'll be closer to you, farther from me.
Is that better?
Yes.
Cool.
Cool beans. All right.
Way to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Books as Bad as Twilight podcast, where we talk about books and see if they're as bad or worse or better than Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. Mm-hmm. My name is Danielle.
And I'm Brittany.
And we are talking about Lost in a Book by Jennifer Donnelly.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you read the authors' names because, I know Donnelly's not a hard last name, but I can't read to save my life, so I'm so glad you took the responsibility of all that.
We'll see how that goes, because I'm not the best all the time either. That. Yeah, you're right. That's an easy one. Let's see what happens later. But thank you. Thank you. Now you've built me up too high, and I'm going to come crashing down. All right. So today we're going to be discussing chapters 15 through 19 of the book. And every week or every episode, we discuss 5 chapters. So if you're wondering what to expect every episode, just know that it'll be 5 chapters next from what we're reading this week. So next week, we'll read 20 through 24. Mm-hmm. Yes. And there's a spoiler warning.
Which we didn't have in the earlier one. Whoops.
I mean, I'm going to guess, listeners, that maybe we'll put... an intro beforehand, maybe in that intro we were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I should write that down.
Yeah, so, here we go. Gonna write it down. Ooh, can I turn this? There. Oh, didn't work like I thought. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, spoilers up to chapter 19. We won't spoil the book any further than that, but just so you know, we are discussing the book. Spoilers are going to be in it, so beware. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All right, anyway. So, next bit of news. Do you like the show? Do you like listening to us? Consider giving us a 5-star review on iTunes. That'd be great. We'd really appreciate that.
Or any of the respected podcast mediums you found us on.
Yes, indeed. Hopefully, we should be on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Hopefully, Spotify. At this point, we haven't... It's just, Spotify's kind of interesting, so we'll see what happens. But hopefully we're on Spotify by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah. Retrospect.
Yeah, retrospect. Or you can listen at our website, BaBaTpodcast.com.
BaBaT.
BaBaT.
Podcast.com. Or BaBaT.
BaBaT. I love it. We're not keeping up our tradition of having But you know what?
Boba tea. That's because I fucked up the very first time.
I still think when we first discussed this podcast and I showed Brittany that, when you said boba tea, like I legitimately was like, oh wow, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, no.
I know it was like through like sort of like misunderstanding, but I still love it.
Well, because I know we talked about it before, but I don't know if it got cut. I thought it was like book, bad, Twilight. Boba tea.
Okay, that explains. So we did talk about it in the show before,
yeah,
and it is in the episode, but you didn't explain it like that.
Yeah, no,
so that
I thought it was book, bad, Twilight.
Okay,
Boba tea.
That's cool.
Whoops.
Well, it happens to the best of us. That's all.
Oh, I love these chapter summary. Oh, you combined them all. I thought you were.
Well, we will. Don't worry.
Cool.
Yeah, we will.
Neat.
And in fact, let me just quickly, before we continue, text Tanya and tell her to text me when she gets here. It shouldn't be anytime soon, but still. Oh, not an emoji. Here.
Tanya, why do you do this? Come to us now.
Are you making that up?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a real song.
I think the tune is from something real. I'm tone deaf, so I have no idea.
Interesting. When you text me, thank you.
I often sing to Kevin, and he's like, I have no idea what you're referencing. I'm like, oh, it's that one song with the thing.
And
he's like, that sounds nothing like it. I'm like, oh, whoops.
It's like, that the thing, the song.
The song with the stuff. Well, listen, we've been together for 6 years.
Aww.
If he doesn't know what I'm talking about by now, he's failed his relationship.
Life lessons, folks.
Life lessons.
You heard it here first. All right, so we're going to do a quick summary of all the chapters we're going to read. And then we'll have chapter summaries, also individual ones, as we go along.
Oh,
meaning
okay, cool.
Don't worry, the one sentence isn't going anywhere, right?
My lame one sentence.
I love your summaries. They are awesome. All right, so would you mind reading the summaries?
Of course.
Thank you.
What happens in chapters 15 through 19?
Oh.
The Beast takes Belle on a date, ice skating, and drinking hot cocoa. There is some romantic tension.
Ooh.
Belle still desires to uncover what the Beast is hiding and does a lot of reflecting. While putting Chip to bed, Belle tells a story of her village for the purpose of allegory. I'm glad I was able to read that word.
Good job.
Thank you. Later, distracted by her thoughts, Belle is unable to sleep and finds herself in the library when the Beast shows up.
When the Beast. He doesn't have a name.
Beast the Beast.
Yeah, Beast the Beast. All right, so that is our summary of the chapters we are about to get through. Mm-hmm. And now on to chapter 15. Brittany, what is your one sentence?
The Beast is self-conscious and has a crush.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! You put it on the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
I know.
LOL. Can we please put that picture on our Instagram?
Yes, I'll send it to you.
Just to tell the listeners.
So I put up a PowerPoint like to make it a little easier for us from recording, and we have some cool pictures on here. I tried to pick funny ones.
You did an amazing job.
I'm so excited.
And
this is like my life.
You didn't use Comic Sans.
No way. I wish that there was a job, like listeners, or maybe you can tell me, like, I want to be a professional PowerPoint creator. I love it. I love making, or like, I mean, I like the newsletters too and stuff. But remember, like,
well, yeah, I think that's, well, probably,
what would you call that?
That's like wrapped in with executive assistants.
True.
Because Kevin makes a lot of PowerPoints for his bosses.
I always liked doing that at the one job I had. When wink, where one time there was a guy who used to give me like old Word documents that he had that were all misstructured, and he'd be like, "Hey, can you retype these for me?"
Really?
And I loved it. I was like, "Yeah, give me more!" Like, I love it.
Copy editor.
Yeah,
that's what.
Is that what it? I guess so.
Yeah,
but a lot of the copy editing jobs I don't see like doing, like, it's a lot more of the editing side of it, like, then, But
well, I'm sure there's gotta be a job specific for that.
I'll find something.
You could be a librarian.
I know.
And do all that.
You can go to college for being a librarian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Library science.
Yeah. That's amazing to me.
I know a lot of people who actually have a degree in library science, yeah.
Something to think about.
There you go.
Interesting. All right. So, chapter 15. So, we have a bulleted list. We're going to go through of the events that happened. We're organized people.
Oh, my God. No, Danielle is organized.
I have to be.
I don't do squat.
Well, I have to be, okay? I have to be because, honestly, as we were going through, I noticed in past episodes, like, I'll just kind of go into it and you're like, all right, well, this happened. And I'm like, oh, yeah,
that's because I kind of lead you on a tangent with me.
So, you know how
it's
it is.
Journey.
Let me just get to my notes.
You have more notes on the PowerPoint?
No, I don't have any notes in the PowerPoint. It's all in this.
Oh,
yeah, no notes
so that's
in the
just a summary. Okay.
Yeah, where's chapter?
Holy God.
Yeah, you want to see?
Oh, is this
I had to switch pens. I ran out of ink. Look.
Honest to God, I really wish people could see this because your notes are so much more in-depth than this book.
They are. Well, because, okay, I'm going to tell a story real quick, okay? Story time. Right, you can look at it. Go ahead.
I am taking a picture.
So, I have a good friend, shout out to Anya, who we do a book club.
Oh, Anya.
Anya, yeah. Not Tanya.
I was
Anya.
going to say.
Yeah, Anya. There will be a Tanya
Anya.
soon.
How's it going, girl?
Hey, Anya. What? And Anya and I have been doing a book club since the winter. We do a seasonal book club, so we read A Christmas Carol in the winter. We just read A Wrinkle in Time, and what I've been doing is I write like detailed notes just like this. I'm
trying to get like a position where I could like flip through.
You can do it, Brittany.
Oh, I believe.
Oh, can you? Yeah, can you do what's it called? What's the thing called on Instagram that goes like it's like a little video and it goes for boomerang.
Boomerang. I'm sure. I don't know how to do any of that.
We'll figure it out. It's all good. We'll figure it out. But anyway, so I remember before this podcast was conceived, part of its conception was like the fact that I took such detailed notes for like books I loved. I thought, oh, this would be so much fun to dissect books that I don't like and figure out, what's not working and what works in a detailed format. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
Agreed.
So I love taking notes like this.
Well,
it's like
that is
so much
what
fun.
Your degree is in.
That's true. I was an English major.
Yeah.
I probably said that before, and
It's good to reiterate.
That's true. You might have forgotten, listeners.
Oh, which is something I have to bring up about in this damn book.
This is so exciting. I love it.
Anyway, so here we go. Chapter 15.
Yes. So, I guess we can go back and forth. Maybe like I do one chapter, like saying what comes up, then you do the next chapter.
Do whatever you feel. Do whatever feels right to you.
What my heart tells
what
me.
Your heart tells you.
Like Belle. Like I listen with my heart.
Do we get to that part yet?
They said it already in the first chapter.
Oh, okay.
I think like.
Well, I know
something like
Lumiere.
Yeah, Lumiere. You're right.
Because I always want to say Lumiere. Lumiere says that.
Does he say that? Oh, does he? Oh, I forgot about that. I think the reason I remember that was because I was editing and we had mentioned it in another episode. So yeah, so he says in this, it's probably reiterated a lot. If I remember correctly.
There's a lot of themes that are reiterated.
I won't say any spoilers, but I've finished the book at this point, so this is not a spoiler. I mean, they say it a lot. There you go. You heard it here first. All right. So the chapter starts out where Beast is sitting alone in the West Wing at his desk.
Poor baby.
Poor baby. And he recalls vividly the time he spent with Belle.
Mm-hmm.
And so, let me open my book. Oh my gosh. We're only on page 92.
Ooh, of what?
Of how many pages?
I think there's 300 and some.
Yeah, 341.
Oh, this is going to take forever.
Brittany, it's okay. It's okay. Calm down. It's okay.
Rage.
You can do it.
Can I bring up a point?
Sure.
While you're getting your notes?
No problems.
Okay, so he's reflecting on his time with Belle, and he said, well, it's like in his head or whatever, he's thinking he can't help feeling that the broken pieces of his world were solely his fault.
Yeah,
no shit.
Right.
That's the whole premise of Beauty and the Beast. You have a greedy little boy who, like, doesn't understand how to be kind to other people, and his whole world falls apart. That's the whole premise of this book.
Right.
Like, well, not this book, but the story of Beauty and the Beast.
Right, yeah.
So, and the original story is 10 years after he was turned into the Beast. So it's taking you this long to come to the realization that it's your fault.
It's funny because what you just said, like, about, you're right, like 10 years, the reflections that they're having don't match up with what is going on in the timeline.
Yeah.
Like, you would think that they would have thought about this before.
Ugh.
And this happens a lot in books.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's extreme.
It's very prominent? Is that the right word?
Prominent? Yeah, because it's brought up a lot.
Yeah. And it's so repetitive. I think you could, like, literally cut half the sentences out of this book. Yeah. And still have a good book. Like,
it would be a better book.
It would be a better book because it's so repetitive.
Well, and I just want to bring something up. It doesn't necessarily pertain to this chapter, but to the book in general. Mm-hmm. That there are a lot of parts in this book that are really touching on the Beauty and the Beast story. And they don't really come to fruition because it's not the Beauty and the Beast story. Yeah. So, like, for example, it comments on the objects and how, I think in this chapter, actually, it comments on Lumiere, who looked so much like a man in his candlestick form, but now he's fading to be more looking like a candlestick. And it's like, okay, that's a nice detail, but we never get to a point where that matters. Yeah. And it's a nice detail, but it's like...
I kind of really like that. It said, in the early days, Lumiere's human form had shone through his candlestick body, particularly in moments like this, and we'll get into that. Yeah. But his humanity is diminishing further every day. His movements were becoming stiff, his flames dim.
And that's a really nice sentence, and
it's good imagery.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But unfortunately what does it lead to? Nothing. That's the unfortunate thing. Yep. There's a thing that I like to use called kill your darlings. Have you ever heard that phrase before?
No. Is that an English thing?
Kinda. There's actually kinda. There's a movie with Daniel Radcliffe actually in it called Kill Your Darlings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I do own it. My friend Justin has it. I'm gonna get it back from him. Justin, if you're listening, I want my Blu-ray back.
God damn it, Justin.
I just saw him, too, like a few months ago, and I forgot to ask him for it. I'm like, damn it. But I haven't seen it in a while, so I forget if it's a good movie or not. Probably is. But basically what it's implying is that in life, specifically writing, but in life, too, like, if you're, like, say I'm writing a book. I'm writing this book. Yes. And I want to include that detail about the objects. Okay. And I really want to. Like, that's what I want so much. But if you look at the story and you look at the structure, you look at it and you go, well, I really want this, but now that I'm looking at the story, overall it doesn't fit. So that part of the story is your darling almost, and you have to kill it. Oh. It's like you're letting go of something.
Okay, that is not what I anticipated that.
Oh, really? What did you think?
I thought you would have started speaking about the tragedies of life and how you have to kill everything that you love within the book to reform the structure of the main protagonist. And
well, that's not necessarily wrong. You're not wrong. It is kind of like that.
But you're killing your idea for the sake of your art.
Right, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly. You're basically, it's like sanding down a piece of wood almost, or like making a piece of furniture. You're sanding it down to give it shape, to shave off the fat, basically, of the story. Shave the fat, I know. If only I could do that.
Listen, you could save the fat.
Yeah.
And recook with it. So
that's true.
Save your darling.
Yeah, well.
In another form.
Yeah. I was going to say fat. I say that, but I'm also going to go back on what I just said a little bit. And that fat isn't always. Like, okay, for example.
Fat is the best part of a medium rare steak.
Well, okay. Let me articulate. Okay. Let me put it this way. Let's look at Toy Story and look at Harry Potter.
Yes.
Okay. Toy Story is a film that is a perfect example of a story that has no fat in it. Every point in that movie is intentional and works toward the story. Yes. That's why it's very concise. I think it's 89 minutes. I'm not positive about that, but it's short for a movie, and it keeps like every minute matters.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Now look at something like Harry Potter, which you could take a lot out, but you don't really want to take it out because those moments of fat give depth to the story.
Yes.
These moments where Harry's spending at the Weasleys just doing nothing and helping around the house and talking about the summer.
Human.
Yeah, exactly. So there's good and bad, but I think it's how you use it, how it is portrayed, how the writer needs to know how to do that.
Yeah.
And with Beauty and the Beast, it's such a grand story and also kind of a problematic story to begin with. So I think the fact that we're writing this book that's so integrated into that story, it's really hard to get away from that. Unfortunately, it's just creating a hole that you can't crawl out of.
Assuming that we already know the story.
Right. Exactly.
Assuming we already know
That's actually, exactly. No, you're right.
Yeah, because I don't feel that this book is written for someone who knows the story. And I am trying my hardest to not read it like that. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, that's where I'm finding the time leaps that we've talked about so hard to deal with.
You're lucky that you could read it like that, because I actually never did. I never successfully was able.
Really?
I mean, I tried my best, and there were times where I knew, like, obviously I knew it was separate from the story, but, like, just my knowledge of Beauty and the Beast.
You have to play Dungeons and Dragons more.
Do I?
Honest to God.
More at all. I've never played it.
Well, there's character knowledge and player knowledge.
Oh.
So you have to separate that, because, like, say your character's off in the bar, like, drinking with the bartender, and he's hearing stories about the town folk, and I'm having an arm wrestling match in the other corner. I don't know what, like, my character does no idea what your character is saying. Yeah. But me as the player can.
Right. Okay.
So
I see.
I can't let that affect the story.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's really cool. That's actually a really good activity as a writer.
Oh, is it?
I would think, because, well, think about it this way, like again in Harry Potter. Sorry, we're probably going to bring this up a lot, Harry Potter.
Dude, it's my jam.
It is. I mean, it's good. That's why Harry Potter does this thing where it is a third person. I think it's omniscient narrator. I think that's what it is. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm correct, but just correct me in the comments or whatever. Basically, what it means is that we're in a third person point of view, but we also can see outside. Okay. Or, well, it's hard to say.
Other things that are happening in the world.
Yeah, like, it goes back and forth. Sometimes it's very in Harry's point of view, and sometimes it's not. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's drastically out of his point of view, like when we get the first chapter of I'm going to call it Philosopher's Stone.
It's the original name.
Yeah, with Vernon Dursley, and then we're in the point of view kind of McGonagall and Dumbledore. Yep. And, other chapters. That's fine, like, to do that, because that's a style of storytelling. With this book, it kind of, I don't, what did you mention
I'm not
before?
sure. Difference between player knowledge and character knowledge.
Thank you, yeah.
And separating yourself.
What I meant to say about that is, with the point of view, is that, like, what our characters know and what they don't know seems to kind of be cloudy in this book. And it's all for the purposes, like, because I say this from experience, just because I have tried to write a story based on a movie before, that it's very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so, like,
that's why fan fiction, alternate universes.
Yeah, and that's
hey, you. Hey.
Oh. Yeah, it's just...
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're hey. I'm tired, man.
Same.
So, we're both tired, okay? And we're hungry.
Oh my god, there's mochi upstairs.
We're gonna have it later, next episode.
Yes.
But, yeah, so it's just, there's a lot of issues, obviously, that we're talking about.
Of course.
We'll touch on it more, like, once we get to the end of the book and when we have our final episode, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Yes.
So, continuing on, there's a thing that talks about, continuing with the point we're just on, where it talks about the rose being on the Beast's desk.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, like, is he doing work right now? And I know we've mentioned this, like, what work is he doing?
Well, this is in the West Wing, not in the library.
Well, right.
Yeah.
But he's still at a desk.
Well, you can have a desk. I have a desk in our guest room, and I don't do anything on it.
Yeah, but, like, it says he's, like, why is he,
he's
like...
just contemplating, like, when you stare at a portrait, he might be just...
It's just a weird detail, because in the movie, it's not on a desk. It's on, like, a little platform, like a table.
Oh, like a pedestal.
Yeah, so I don't know why say it's on it, like, because it specifically says at one point, like, that it's on a desk, and I'm like, oh. So,
I think she just needed to throw it on something. You know
what?
I know this is based off the movie itself.
Yeah.
But I don't...
The 2017.
2017 movie.
Sorry, go ahead.
But I don't think... that's a very hard detail to remember, writing this. Like, what kind of...
I guess.
Surface was this rose on?
I guess, but if you're writing this...
Or maybe she didn't want to... Maybe writing it, she didn't want to glorify the fact that this was the curse by putting it on a pedestal, even though the movie did.
I'll give it to you. I disagree, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
I'm trying to get.
I like that you're
deeper than it
into
is.
the deeper meaning.
Honestly, I think she just wrote desk.
Right? Yeah, that's probably correct. Yeah, that makes me think of, like, okay, bring up Harry Potter again. I used to listen to a podcast. I won't name it, but they used to fantasize about, like, why certain things happen in Harry Potter, like why in book 4 after Cedric died he can't see the Thestrals. And everybody's like, oh, maybe this is why. And I'm like, or maybe J.K. Rowling just... No, remember, he doesn't see them. He goes in the carriages at the end. It, like, specifically says at one point that he would have seen them at that point. And they also talk about, did he see his parents die when he was a baby? Why didn't he see Thestrals?
Well, that one...
Maybe he didn't see them.
Well, you don't form solid memories until you're 3. He wasn't 3 yet.
True, but...
So he might have not been able to see it.
Well, yeah, I've always thought, he couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But the book 4 ending thing...
He could have been sleeping, too.
Right, exactly. Like, he could have something, or... Well, he wasn't sleeping. I know that.
Well, no, he didn't see Cedric die.
No, he did.
When he came, he looked over and he was dead.
No, he sees him die because that's why he
Was
can...
he?
Yeah, because that's why that's the reason he can see Thestrals in book 5.
Later on.
So it's just... But
I don't know. It's been a while since I read that.
Well, let me put it this way. My point in saying that is that, like, people would be like, oh, this is why. And I'm like, all right. Like,
everyone picks it apart.
Yeah, I'm like, I love picking things apart, but I think there's a point when you just have to say, the author didn't think of it yet.
Oh,
like,
coming from the girl that's like, why is it on a desk?
You know what? I'm not excusing it, all right? But, because, and you look at Harry Potter closer and closer, you realize that she missed things. So I'll say that, yeah. I'm not reserving judgment on that,
Yeah.
But I also think that Harry Potter collected details that were much richer. That, okay, it's okay if she misses a little detail. Like this book, I do not excuse it. Like, because there are many things working against it. But anyway, sorry for my tangent on Harry Potter. I'll try not to mention it ever again.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And one thing, so Lumiere comes, he interrupts his dreams about Belle. His dreams. He goes on and on about Belle. Like,
who?
The Beast.
The Beast?
Yeah, he's hardcore.
Yeah, he's pining.
He has a crush.
He has a crush.
He likes her.
Well, yeah, and like, imagine you're locked in this castle.
Yeah.
You have no human company for, again, we don't know how long. We are assuming 10 years, even though it's not movie based. Let's say 3 years.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 3 years. I think that's a good amount of time for him to be stuck as a beast.
Okay.
Because 21, roll back a few years. 3.
Seems legit.
So you haven't seen anyone in 3 years, and here comes this girl. She's hot, and she knows books, and you guys are quoting the Fairy Queen together, and
so cool.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's crushing pretty hard.
He's crushing hardcore.
And plus, she could be the one to break the curse.
I know, like, this is a very asexual story, but this is his, like, sexual awakening, you know?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Is it asexual? Is it supposed to be asexual?
No, but I think it's just because it's Disney, like, the fact it's, like, bestiality, too, like, there's really no...
Yeah, oh, that is another point I want to bring up, and I think it's spoken about in this chapter. Objects should the curse be broken. Okay. So they talk about the curse as well in this chapter.
They do, yeah.
And they talk about love and how only love can break the curse, blah, blah, blah. The Beast says how he begins to care about his servants. He loves them. Mrs. Pot tells about how she cares about the Beast.
Right.
Oh. She loves him. Chip loves him. He loves Chip. Why isn't the curse broken?
That is such a good point.
Because it doesn't say romantic love.
Yeah.
Nowhere unless, because the original story is French.
Right.
Unless they're lost in translation, like there's a difference between romantic love and true love. Because this whole thing is based on true love.
Right.
But they mean romantic.
Right. I'm wondering...
Because it's ticking me off.
That's a really good point, and that would be a fault, because the original story of Beauty and the Beast, the objects, if I remember correctly, do not, they're just kind of there.
Correct.
Yes.
They don't care for him at the end.
Yeah, they're just kind of, and I'm not even talking about the original movie, I'm talking about the very original book. They don't, or story, they're nothing, they're nothing to the story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so different, but
really?
Yeah, so, but like,
But
yeah, that's a great point.
But even in the original, like the Disney movie,
right?
They don't have feelings for Beast. They are just his servants. He's still treating them like trash.
I was gonna say he doesn't treat them the way it describes in this book.
Correct.
Yeah.
So he still treats them like trash. He is still an angry beast up until Belle comes there.
Yeah.
So they're all gonna still hate each other.
Right.
So this whole book is thrown out the window because inconsistent. That is one of my criteria, and it is gone. Because I love my brothers. I love my mama. They're not the same way I love my husband.
Right. Right. Well, because Disney won't differentiate that. Disney won't. But it's interesting because
then they shouldn't play up the romantic aspect of it.
Right. I agree with you. That's really interesting. I never thought about that.
It's making me angry.
Well, just be ready to be angry for the rest of the book because
damn it,
that's what's going to happen. So there's a point in this chapter where the Beast talks about going ice skating with Belle. He wants to take her ice skating, take her on a date. And I just have to bring up that happens in the Enchanted Christmas. We actually see.
Oh, does it? Oh, okay. In the movie.
Yeah, so
sequel.
At some point, we're going to have to watch this movie because the similarities are there. Not the Nevermore plot, but just the characters are very similar in the way they act. Belle is a pushover, or not a pushover, sorry, wanting to save the Beast. Like, she just wants to make him happy. That's literally a quote from that movie. She says, "I just wanted to make you happy." I'm like, oh, damn. Anyway.
So even in the movie, she loves him then.
Right.
And he loves her.
That's the thing, like...
So...
God, I don't... Anyway. So...
Oh, sorry. Going back. The only reason I could think that there would be a difference is that it got lost in translation from the original French version. That's the only point I wanted to make, is if, like, because English is such a limited language when you actually look at it.
Yeah.
And, like, so Germans have a word for what it smells like after it rains.
Yes.
So,
that's a really good... Yeah, because there was a video, I haven't watched it, but I saw it on YouTube, but I just was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's called, like, I think 10 words in German that can't be translated to English.
Exactly.
And... I think you're right, like, stories get watered, it's kind of like Whisper Down the Lane. Stories get more watered down the further they go on, and...
Oh, I just almost went on a tangent.
What?
It's a religious tangent, so
okay,
no.
Alright. Well, anyway.
I'm just gonna stop myself, because that's gonna be 40 minutes long.
Okay. I'll trust you then. You should write it down, we can talk about it later.
Go on.
Off air. Anyway, with Disney, typically what happens, and this is just kind of understood, especially in American culture, that when Disney releases a film, it becomes the definitive version of that fairy tale. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. Like with Frozen,
which is a shame.
It is a shame because, like, look at Frozen, for example.
Ice Queen.
Yeah, if you read the original by Hans Christian Andersen, which I have, I think, twice at this point, it is so good. And it's almost like, because when I first saw Frozen, I loved it. And then I became a little more cynical later, but because now I really don't like it.
Usually how it happens.
Yeah, and the thing is, I read that original story and I thought, wow, that is amazing. I think when you come to this book, unfortunately, that could be your approach, that you saw the 1991, you come to this book wanting, because again, like, I love Belle, I would love to get more about what's going on that we don't see on camera. And unfortunately, it's just watered down, and
And we don't know how long she's been there either. They don't
right.
define that.
Right, because it's always
either.
winter. In the original, 1991, they actually have seasons. They changed that.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, there are seasons.
Oh, but isn't it always supposed to be permanent winter, though?
In the new one.
Oh.
Not in the other. Yeah, not in the original.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the original, she comes in the fall, and then it becomes winter, and then slowly starts to become spring.
But also, and talking about this book in general, she often talks about, and I believe it's the next chapter, so.
I think, yeah. It is. Or one of the chapters in this group, yeah.
Oh, well, even, she's mentioned it before. She hasn't, like when she went to Nevermore the first time. It's been so long since she's seen another human face, had a human conversation.
Yeah.
How long has she been there?
I know, right?
Like
not
2 months?
Not that long.
2 years?
We don't know.
It couldn't have been 2 years.
No, it's probably not years. It's probably not even
honestly
months. I mean,
it
might
feels
be,
like 2 weeks.
It's probably weeks.
And how are you having these feelings after 2 weeks? Fairy tale, I know, but like,
yeah, but
still,
we're holding.
I'm exhausted.
Well, the whole point of this podcast is holding these books to a standard.
Yeah.
That okay, so I understand like genre, and there's a lot of things that go into how you judge a book, but my personal opinion that doesn't always win out, but my opinion usually most of the time is that a book should be good regardless of its genre, regardless of
I agree.
who its intended audience is. It should be good. And like you were saying, if it's going to be like candy, brain candy, that's fine. It most likely would not be the best amazing book.
It shouldn't have
And that's okay.
5 stars on Amazon.
Right. And that's okay. Like, that is okay, because you're right. There are books intended for that. But if you're looking to read a good book, that's not going to be it.
Yeah.
It could have a lot of good things. I've read tons of books like that where there's a lot of great elements. It just won't be amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we keep going in tangents. I apologize, because we got to hurry up.
Oh, yeah, true.
So
we got dinner dates.
We got dinner dates. All right, so
Transference Hewing looks like objects. We covered that.
Yeah, so they're basically they talk about they reflect on not being able to share the key to breaking the curse with Belle.
Yes, and that is a huge plot point because Lumiere,
you got this.
Him, the candlestick. He talks about how you have to show your heart to Belle. He tells that to Beast because if he could fall in love with a feather duster,
oh yeah,
anyone could fall in love with the Beast.
And the Beast is kind of like, when he refers to that, Lumiere's kind of like saying, "I love the feather duster," and he's like, "So you want me to fall in love with the feather duster?" He's like, "No."
Luminere's a dick in this chapter.
Well,
I feel
a lot of the servants are dicks in this book.
You were so reluctant to say that.
They are.
Dicks.
And at one point, they're talking about like how they're like imprisoned here and stuff, and that's why the conversation gets started about them, wishing Belle knew how to break the curse, and they're like, they're imprisoned in their own way, just like Belle, and I'm like, I mean, not really. I mean, you're both imprisoned in different ways, but not like Belle. Maybe the servants, but not the Beast.
Yeah, not the Beast. I feel like the servants have it worse off.
But they do, but
because
it's
they're
not
inanimate
the same.
objects, and then they die.
They can't do anything. Yeah, at least
Belle
Belle won't die.
Belle
can leave.
Sorry, just spit everywhere. I don't know if it hit you.
No, it actually didn't. Thank
good.
God. That happened at work one time at my current job. One guy, I was being trained, and he just full on spit on me. And when that happens, you kind of don't want to acknowledge it. Yeah. And he looked at me and he was like, "I'm so sorry. I just totally spit on you." I'm like, "It's all good." It's a great time. And so Lumiere talks to the Beast about love. We did touch on that. One thing I wanted to touch on is that we talked about how constantly the Beast is reflecting a little too much on the beggar woman and what happened to him. And I want to be I want to say that reflection in a book is not bad.
No.
And here's my example. And I know you haven't read this.
No, go for it.
But Game of Thrones. In the first Game of Thrones book, there's this plot point that a lot of people refer to, and it's actually a really important one in the whole series, where the one character named Ned is constantly, his sister Ned Stark, yeah.
Yeah, he got his cut off, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, see, I know a little bit about it.
He constantly in the narration is thinking about his sister who died in a previous war. And what he's constantly thinking about is the last words she said to him, which were, "Promise me, Ned." And, I mean, constantly in his chapters, he's thinking of this. And the way George R. R. Martin does it is it's so beautiful. Like it's almost poetic in how he illustrates this man's feelings, like what he's thinking about every day, that this fuels what he's thinking. His whole life has been built on these words, "Promise me, Ned." And how can a book like that make that work? And this book can't. Like, it's the style of it. It's the skill of the writer. So I just want to make that clear, that it's not that she's repeating things over and over. That's the problem. It's how it's done.
Exactly. And I have another example for you. If you like Ned's. It's from the Stormlight Archives, Way of Kings, by Brandon Sanderson.
I've heard of that author.
Very fantasy, just like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But the main character is driven by his brother's last words.
Okay.
Which was it was I forget exactly what it is, but it's like you must find the words. So he's looking for the words through all these philosophies and visions and blah blah blah, and it keeps being brought back because it changed his entire personality when his brother died. So it's a lot for him to process, and he reflects on it constantly, and other people reflect on it as well, just as you were saying, with this guy's sister. So it's weird that they have that correlation.
Well, fantasy does that a lot.
Yeah, fantasy does do it, and that's my favorite genre.
And that's the thing, like, good books will do that. Like, I mean, that's a very human thing. It's very hard to capture human thoughts in a book. Like, usually we think that a book is true to life, but most of the time it's actually not. And it's very hard for an author to depict how the human brain really works.
Yes, agreed.
And so again, we're not holding this book like this. Not every book can do that, and that's fine, you know? But at the same time, it's just something to think about, because there are style things in this book that work in other books. It just depends on the skill of the writer. One thing I wrote down is, when I was reading this chapter, something that I don't think is ever really touched upon in any of the retellings of Beauty and the Beast, but I think would be an interesting version of the story, would be looking at the Beast. Like, he basically talks about how Belle would never love him, she'd only pity him. And it made me think about this story that I heard one time about this woman who she had a baby, and the baby was born with Down syndrome, and like her first thought was like, oh my god, like this baby's not gonna be able to live a normal life, like she's constantly gonna like be held back.
This was a video?
It was a story. It was on a podcast. Okay. Yeah. And she said that she's not proud of thinking that, because she learned as her child grew that like there's no hindrance at all.
My heart.
I know. There's no hindrance at all to this child, and she realized that how she looked at people who are handicapped or disabled is with pity. Like, and so I thought, what if there was a version of this story where it's a little different, like maybe it doesn't have an enchantress, the circumstances are different. You're looking at the Beast as somebody who has a disability, like, and she's pitying him and learning to see him for who he truly is, and not like looking at just what disables him.
That'd be a great alternate universe.
Yeah, it would be interesting. So that's just something that came up when I was writing my notes.
Yeah.
So what did you find
No, like I said, it's not important. It's just going to bother me.
Well, one more thing I'll say real quick before we go on to chapter 16 is that I wish this book would have been like, I think this book could have been great if it was just like a fun side adventure.
Yes.
Because like I just saw the movie Murder on the Orient Express. Have you seen that? Or
I've seen it, but I wasn't paying close attention to it, to be perfectly honest.
Well, it's a boring movie.
Is it?
Boring ass movie.
I like the book.
I like the book. It's not my favorite in the world.
I was gonna say you don't like the book.
No, it's
could call you out on your bullshit.
It's okay. Yeah, that's true. I hate it. No, I didn't hate it. It's just like it was.
You don't like. You don't like murder mystery.
It's not even just that. I'm open to like a good murder mystery. I thought. I just didn't. The writing was fine.
Yeah.
I hated the ending. I really hated the ending.
That's how a lot of Agatha Christie books are, though.
Yeah, it's the only one I've read by her, so maybe I'll read another, but probably not. But anyway, what I hated about that movie was that, despite my dislike of the book, it could have been like a fun murder mystery movie, and instead it decided to be like this contemplative thing about the Poirot, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the detective, and like looking at his soul and like his beliefs and stuff and contemplating what that means to the story. And I'm like, can't this just be a fun mystery? Like, it doesn't, like, it's like it doesn't know what
it'd be Clue then.
That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. Yeah.
That is a fantastic comedy, fun mystery. Do you remember that? The movie Clue.
No, I've never seen it. I've played the game.
My God.
Is it a classic?
Yes. It's a cult classic.
It's a cult. Okay.
Well, kind of like The Room is a cult classic.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
But no, The Clue is one of the best movies. Like, I love it.
Okay, so maybe we'll watch it one time.
Oh my God, yes. So this is gonna be a movie and book review podcast.
I like it. All right, so on to chapter 16.
Do you want to say this already? Or do you
no, you go ahead.
Beast and Belle's first date.
Aw, look at them.
Emoji.
Aw, Beast is looking at her a little weird in this picture.
He's gonna ride for sure.
Oh God.
So,
anyway,
what happens is he takes her out on the land, gazing.
On the land.
I don't like this chapter. I thought it was very boring.
It was very boring. Belle gets scared by a quail. Like, it's actually really funny. And let me see, I wrote down, where is it?
You want to know what I wrote down in this?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
There could have been so much depth to this. Because they've spent hours skating on a lake where they were laughing and talking, but you hear nothing about that.
Right.
Cogsworth talks more in this chapter about his battles that mean nothing to the storyline than they do about the character development of Beauty and Beast and how they fall in love.
Yeah, that was a lot to say, but it matters because what you just said, there's a sentence literally. I think.
Yes.
Let me see. Or no, that's the next chapter, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the next chapter.
The
This
one that
chapter,
you're talking about?
Yeah, the sentence. We'll get to this, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. Where it says like they skated and minutes became hours, and then they had to go inside, and it's just like a paragraph. Just that's it.
Just gone.
It's done, and you know
this
whatever.
Is chapter 16, right?
This is chapter 16. I believe it's 17 that happens. There's a part.
It is.
Yeah.
You're right. I went on a tangent about 17.
That's okay, you know what? Because we're so anxious. We've been talking about 15 for so long that we're anxious.
Also, this goes back to what you were saying before. This chapter could have been rolled into the next one.
Yes, it could.
This could have been a really, really good chapter.
Yeah. It's a shame.
Oh, I like the third bullet. Read it.
Belle reflects on her new drug of choice, Nevermore.
Can we talk about how much I hate the fact that it's called Nevermore?
I know. Well, you know what?
So disrespectful to Poe.
To Poe?
Edgar Allan Poe.
Did he write
The Raven? Nevermore.
I've never read The
Raven.
Raven. Oh. Okay. So, yeah, I know. Just don't judge me too harshly, listeners. I know I'm an English major. I haven't read much of Poe. I'm a scaredy cat. I read, what is The Telltale Heart in English class, and I was freaked the F out. I was like, So, yes, I'll read The Raven now, okay? I promise, Brittany, I'll read it for you and for this podcast.
I don't know how you and I have such different tastes when it comes to reading.
I know, because we're actually really similar, so I'm surprised that we've read, like, such different books. But that's what makes us so compatible on this podcast.
Which is great, and how much we hate this book.
I know, we have something in common. They say people bond that way by the things they hate. Well, so true. Nothing could unite us more. Anyway.
Go ahead about your bullet points on 16.
Yes, there is a chapter. What am I saying? A sentence. And it says, I'm going to read it. Belle remembered the beast fighting off an entire pack of wolves, and she couldn't help imagining that she'd be safe with him at any time of the day or night, anywhere. Her character development jumps a lot. Like, what does she feel? I mean, I could get the argument. I don't think it'd be a good argument, but the argument that she doesn't know what she feels. Mm-hmm. But, like, she jumps back and forth a lot. Like, I read this sentence and I'm like, Belle, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
also, like, why didn't she take him into Nevermore then? If she wanted to feel safer.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing threatening in Nevermore so far, but, like...
Because the argument to be made, again, I think it's a weak argument, but the argument is that she wants to get away from him and be with people again and get into her own thing away from him.
Weak.
Yeah, it doesn't work. And also, I want to mention this, but I really don't want to talk about it until we finish the book. But Nevermore, I thought about this when I finished the book, was, I thought of Neverland. And I wondered if that is like a play on that. And so obviously it's not really talk about it now. Yeah. But at the end of the book, I definitely want to have a discussion about that because I have a lot to say about that. But there's this sentence, I thought it was really terrible. The Beast says, we don't have much farther to go, end quote. And then it says, I'll read it out fully, okay? Quote, we don't have much farther to go, end quote. The Beast said now. Like, the Beast said now?
That's clunky.
Like, said now. That's two different... That's past and then present. The Beast said now? I read that and I'm like, I feel like that's an easy fix. Like, really easy.
Said.
He said... Yeah, he had... Or he said. Like, why... He said now. Whatever. So...
You know which sentence I hated in this chapter?
Oh, please tell me.
I want to make sure I'm in the right chapter. 16. It was... She was talking about the landscape. Sorry, I'm just going to make fun of myself.
It's all good.
When she... Oh, fuck.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Where is it?
If I find it.
This part is going to get cut. This part is going to get cut. Is it in the next one?
Is it the one where it says, it was breathtaking, a bleak winter landscape?
Yes, where is that? What page?
It's on, my 99. Do you want to read from my copy?
Nope. I'm going to find it.
Okay. You can
do it. I should have highlighted it.
You can do it. You can do it.
Oh, also, there's more French in here that doesn't give an explanation of what it means.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't recall.
That's fine.
I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Okay, yeah, no, show me where it is on yours.
It's, right here.
Belle paused at the top of the wall for a few seconds and took in the scene around her. It was breathtaking. A bleak winter landscape, but starkly beautiful, too. Like...
Yeah.
It can't be bleak and beautiful.
Right.
Like, that's saying... Like, I know there's an argument for that. Like, saying Hitler was a terribly great person. You know? It was really bad to use Hitler. But, like...
It's like, whoa, we went there.
Back to Harry Potter. Like, Voldemort did great things. Terrible things.
Yeah.
But great. Right. And, like, I understand the argument for that, but... bleak isn't a word that you associate with beautiful, because bleak, like, by definition, they're two opposing things.
And I don't think she has the emotional capacity, at least illustrated in this book, to like make that distinction.
Yeah,
like, because you're right, things can be, if you really got down to it, you could say something's bleak, but it's beautiful and it's bleakness. But that's not what she says.
No, that's not what she says at all.
And it's...
Because when Ollivander is making that point about Voldemort, when he says great, he means in a mass.
Yeah.
You know, like an amount. Like a volume.
Right.
Not in, like, not as a descriptor.
Right,
like,
right,
like
yeah.
It is a descriptor, but you know what I'm saying,
no,
right?
yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying.
Same thing with, like, I'm going to say Hitler because I want to backtrack. I want to backpedal a little bit what I said. He was a very intelligent person.
That's better.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Awful. But the way he did his speech, like, my husband is really, really into World War II because of the psychological aspect of it.
Right.
Groupthink and everything like that. It is awful and terrifying, but it is amazing.
Yeah.
You have to be odd. Like...
It's easy to be taken in by...
It's so crazy.
He knows how to speak,
It's awful.
Especially, yeah. I was going to go into something, but I won't, because that would be another tangent. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
About. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, I think this book, like, just says, what's a good word? Bleak's a good word.
Bleak describes
Beautiful.
winter.
Yeah.
Beautiful also.
The bleak midwinter.
Anyway, sorry. I had an issue with that one.
No, that's fine. And the thing is that whole part, like, it actually could be a nice thing. Like, when I read that, I was like, oh.
A crisp winter.
Yeah, crisp.
A beautiful winter.
I love that word.
Wholesome,
yeah. But even if she did say that, then it still wouldn't work, because why would it be wholesome? You're trapped, like, whatever.
Because it's the smell of smoke and chocolate in the air.
That's true.
Wholesome.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Oh, but then she'd be sad. She'd be reminded of home.
Which happens
We're going,
often.
yeah, it happens all the time, which is fine. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole again, but still.
So chapter 16, she's on a wall. She gets scared by a bird.
Yeah,
and she smells chocolate.
And can I just say, I love, like, where it's, like, where they're, like, they start running to the chocolate. They're, like, racing.
Yeah.
And the beast is, like, I think she falls behind. He's going faster. And he's like, more chocolate for me! I'm like, oh, dear God.
Do you think he's, like, a dog and chocolate would kill him?
Yeah, maybe his genetics change. Well, actually, at one point in this book, it outright says that the servants don't have to eat. So we haven't gotten there yet. This isn't really a spoiler. It's just a note that it says that the servants, because they're not human anymore, because they're objects, they don't have to eat. And so I'm thinking, well, did it change their genetics? I won't go to, because we'll get to that when the chapter comes. It's not for a little while.
Well, that's going to change him completely, too, then.
Right, exactly. So maybe you're right. Maybe
he's going to die from eating that chocolate.
Oh, man. It's just a matter of time. And my favorite moment I just wanted to bring up from the movie, the adaptation in 2017, was when in Something There, when they're having the snowball fight and the beast throws the snowball and it hits Emma Watson, like, square in the face. I started cracking up. I was like, best moment, hands down, in the movie.
I think this part would have been much better to combine with the library scene.
Yeah,
because
that would have been
him
nice.
slipping on that bar soap, him just falling on his butt on the ice skating rink, and that's going to you're bringing in both the chapters.
Right.
You're showing how quickly his attitude changes when he's embarrassed.
Yes,
and they could find a way to kind of like wrap it all, and it's not as cartoonish anymore.
And that would be trimming the fat.
And be trimming the fat.
That would, that's a really good interpretation of it. I wish.
Oh
well. So, we just have to accept it, right?
Yep.
On to chapter 17, unless... Yeah.
I have nothing else.
Yeah, okay.
We'll explain that in 1 second.
I didn't expect you to laugh.
That is perfect.
Oh my gosh, I'm crying now.
I'm so sorry for my aggressive laugh.
It was amazing. 5 stars just for that moment, alright?
Okay, so chapter summary for 17. Most uneventful day ever, period. And Danielle used a photo from the original movie. I guess when she's talking to Gaston.
It's like after when she's about to sing the reprise of Belle.
Oh my god, she is rolling her eyes hard. I've never seen so much boredom drawn in a character.
I have tears in my eyes right now. I can't wipe them because my hands are full, but...
Oh my god, that was so unexpected.
That's what I aim to do with these PowerPoints. To expect the unexpected. All right. So, chapter 17. We get the date. We got it. And Belle is so freaking excited to go skating.
How did they clean the lake?
Oh, well, Brittany, they got brooms.
Oh, they can't hold brooms. They're objects.
Well...
It made sense that Mrs. Pot was steaming windows because she's a teapot.
Right.
But I guess
Cogsworth could do it, but he wouldn't do it. He's too prideful for that. He's all talking about his war stories.
Yeah, this is where the war stories come in.
Yeah. So this is, I think, a longer chapter. Let me see.
Actually,
it's not. Just kidding.
It's shorter.
Yeah, it's actually not that long.
Everything I said about 16 applied to 17.
Okay.
Well, that's how I feel about this.
Yeah. Well, a few things to comment on. I'll try to go quickly.
Yeah.
One thing is that Cogsworth, he complains. That's all he does in this book, complain and go on war stories.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. I have to blow my nose again.
Oh, that's fine.
It's Because you made me cry, Brittany. You should feel ashamed of yourself. Just kidding. Come on, tissue. Patreon.
Listen to every time Danielle blows her nose. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
It happens a lot. I might leave that in.
Oh my god.
Oh god. Danielle's kind of cleaned out the nose again. They even heard me say that.
3 hours.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All my eyeliner is going to be rubbed off by the time Tanya gets here.
Oh my god.
All right. All right. We can do this. We can do it.
Chapter 17.
Yes. Okay, so my question is, where'd they get the skates? You're still laughing. Where'd they get the skates?
Wait,
like,
do you remember the description of the skates?
No.
I hated it. Go on
Let me
with your
see.
tangent while I pull that up.
No, I was just saying, like, where do you, like, you have materials. Where do you get them from? Please tell us. Like, have some logic. Like, say, oh, they were old skates. They belonged to my mother at one time. Like, that would have been nice character development. Nope. We get nothing because this book sucks.
How did they get the chairs down by the lakeside?
Right. Who carried them down? Because the Beast didn't. He was with Belle.
Exactly.
And he wouldn't do it anyway because they're his servants.
Did
Whatever.
Chapeau, did they do it? Isn't that the cabinet?
I don't know who Chapeau is, honestly.
Can somebody tell us who Chapeau is?
Please do.
If we're saying that right.
By the time this episode comes out, it'll be too late.
We'll be gone.
Yeah. Cogsworth, goes on a tangent about a story.
About his war.
Yeah. And then Belle rolls her eyes. And I'm like, this is so mean-spirited.
That is.
Like, and because of our time constraints right now, I'm not going to go on to that, but it'll be something to talk about at the end of the book.
There we go. The skates are made of wood with leather straps and fitted with sharp steel blades that covered up the toes. That's what the skates were. And I don't know how true that is to what skates were.
It just sounds fancy. Not good. It's trying to be fancy. I don't know.
We're made of wood with leather straps. It sounds like those like sandals that Japanese wear, like traditional Japanese garb.
Yeah.
Then shoved a blade at the bottom of it. It doesn't sound...
Well, that's what happens in this book.
You just shove a blade in things.
That too. So, we get a reminder that Belle is perfect again. Let me see. Oh, yes. So the Beast falls on the ice, I believe. Does he? Yeah, he slams down right onto his backside, and Belle says, "Perhaps you should let me help you," Belle called from across the pond, where she was cutting a graceful arc on the ice. Meow, meow, meow. Oh my gosh, I'm sick of it.
Meow, meow.
Meow, meow. Okay. Yeah, so she's perfect. We get it. And this, again, Enchanted Christmas just echoes of that movie.
Yeah.
By the way, let me know if you see my phone vibrate, because that will tell me when Tanya's here.
Okay, cool.
Just in case.
Yeah. But this is where we come in, like, they eventually began skating for hours, where this could be a lot of character development, a lot of conversation, a lot of backstory, a lot of remembrance, a lot of trimming the fat.
Well, and this is also the chapter where Brittany had mentioned we could get a lot of, like, this character development, and, like,
nothing.
All we get is, I wrote down where the sentence is. 106, paragraph 1. That's what I do, because I can't write all these sentences down. Then they skated some more. Minutes became hours, and the hours soon brought dusk. Like, that's literally it.
That's the whole date.
Like, you're not... Falling in love with somebody is not... It's not just, like, saying, like, scooting over things. Like, there needs to be genuine connection. They do not have it in this new rendition of Beauty and the Beast. It's just not there. They try to have it, but they don't. And so it's sentences like that bother me so much.
And like I said, we have more quotes from Cogsworth about his battles in Quebec.
Yeah. And, oh, God.
And
I
St.
can't
Lawrence at the Battle of Quebec than we do from conversation of Belle and the Beast. And that is highly disappointing.
Yeah. It's forced. Clunky. I love how it says, is this the one? Yeah, so Chapeau, he's taking Belle's cloak off before she's entirely out of it. Mm-hmm. And it says, she spun around to free her arm and crashed into the beast, who reached out to catch her. They both laughed, and they looked into each other's eyes.
Aww.
I'm like, oh, God. And one thing I wanted to mention, too, again, it's a little detail, but it says, let me see if I can
You don't want to
find
be
it.
spun into a lover's arm by... he's
the coat rack.
The coat hanger.
There we go.
Yeah.
We got it now.
That makes much more sense.
Context clues.
But also, he couldn't bring the chairs down.
He could try, but I don't imagine he'd be really strong. It's kind of like SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, he'd be exercising with, stuffed animals.
They need a Sandy in this.
Oh, they do. Well,
Sandy cheeks.
now I just want to be watching SpongeBob, which I never thought I would say.
SpongeBob has better character development than this book.
It actually does. Just think about that for a second. That's true. That's a true statement. We're woke. We're woke.
That's not the right.
No, yes, it is. We are woke to.
You know who's woke?
Who?
Chip.
Chip. Yes.
Chip is woke as fuck.
He is.
We'll discuss
Oh my
that
God.
next
Yes,
chapter.
we will. We will. Oh, I'm so excited for that. So there's this one sentence. Again, not a huge deal, but I just wanted to comment on it. It says, reluctantly, Belle and the Beast headed home, accompanied by the servants. And this stood out to me because it said, headed home. And I'm wondering, why would it say something like that? Is she starting to view it as home?
I didn't notice that. Good job.
Well, it's interesting. So I always remember this. When I went camping with Tanya and her daughter, we would say, oh, we're going to go home now. And her daughter would keep going, we're going home? Why are we going home? And we constantly had to say, no, we're going back to the tent. Sorry, we're saying home, but we're going back to the tent. We're not going home. Yeah, and so I kind of feel again, it's a little thing, but wouldn't it be cool, to question that? Does Belle view it as home? Is she starting to?
I like that.
Why?
I like that a lot.
Not there.
Oh, even adding, a little part, home...
Whatever.
As Beast sees it, or as Belle sees it.
Right, yeah, or something to just acknowledge that.
Yeah. Oh, neat.
Yeah, but anyway, this book makes me believe in the Stockholm Syndrome.
Mm-hmm. I knew you wanted to bring that up at some point.
I don't know if I'll be able to talk about it. We might have to save it for next episode. But my final point for this is on page 107.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I... Okay, so after that sentence I read about when they looked into each other's eyes.
Yeah. Pip.
Belle says, thank you, she said, for a truly wonderful day. And then Mrs. Potts is like, come, child, Mrs. Potts interrupted, bustling Belle off toward the stairs. And all I could write is, Mrs. Potts cock block.
Oh, yes, she very much did. But Mrs. Potts, why would you cock block?
I know!
When you want them to fall in love.
I know! It makes no sense.
I threw a pen.
The frustration, anger.
It's like they don't want to be turned back into humans.
It doesn't, the motivations don't make sense.
When I'm human.
Oh.
And I plan to be.
That's a good song.
I don't know the words.
Song.
I'm also
you were
tone-deaf.
close. You were close. Yeah. That makes me think there was an additional song in the 1991 version that they put on the re-release.
Ooh.
I like the song. I'm not a huge fan of how they integrated it, but it's not a bad song. It's called Human Again.
Oh.
It's actually nice. Again, I don't love it, but it is kind of cool to think about how the servants feel about all this. So that's something to check out if you don't know about it. They go, we'll be human again. We'll be human again. It's nice. It's a nice little song.
It's a nice song.
So on to chapter 18. I couldn't find a good picture.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Chip drops some wisdom, and Belle is shook.
I love that. She is shook. I loved that.
I don't know what I was listening to when I was writing these. I'm just I felt really in tune with I felt woke. I was just drop some
with
wisdom.
your humorous side, yeah. When I read them and you saw my text messages, I got her when you texted me them, and I was like, LOL. And then I thought, I hope she doesn't think I'm laughing at her. I'm laughing at her jokes.
No, of course not.
Because that was hilarious.
And even if you do laugh at me, I take it in great stride.
Me too. We have to laugh at each other, right? Hi everyone, Danielle here with a quick update on this episode. So after this point, when you stop hearing my voice and hear Brittany's again, you will also hear another voice along with us. That is our friend Tanya. She ended up coming a little later to record the episode with us. And yeah, so she'll be introduced, but right now you might be like, who is this extra voice? That is Tanya, and I hope you enjoy her commentary as much as you enjoy ours. Thanks. Let's continue with the episode.
A sample of a different sentence with it,
wow.
or it might just give me a definition. So it's like helpful for young readers who are learning to read, or not learning to read, but are starting to read books that have more difficult words in it.
That's really cool that the Kindle
It was
does
really
that.
cool. I was like, never seen this before.
Yeah.
I guess it only comes up for books that are considered young adult books.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's so strange because I didn't get that when I downloaded it on the Kindle app.
I guess you're not special.
I guess not. But yeah,
Maybe you knew you weren't a young reader.
But you are.
I read some shit.
Some young adult shit.
Like what?
Like stuff.
Like young adult books? Like, is that what you're saying? That's okay.
No, she's talking about erotica that you get for free on the Kindle app.
Oh, okay.
You do?
Some books you get for free, and some of them are really bad.
Oh, and I got some, by the way,
I
bad
can't read
ones.
bad words. I can't read bad books. If it wasn't edited properly, I can't get through it.
I'm surprised you got through this then.
It's not like awful. It's not.
It's not
it
the
was-
worst
it went
ever,
so
but it's
fast.
pretty bad.
Plus, I had no choice. It wasn't like a personal choice that I made to read this book, and I had a purpose.
It wasn't for enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we sound? Do
You sound
okay?
very good.
Is her volume?
Hello.
Yes, very nice. I'm recording right now.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Well, that's how
You're
we.
supposed to give me like a heads up.
No. That's how we do it.
We're
'cause then-
recording.
Well, then we splice it in, or it's like natural conversation, so you feel comfortable in front of the mic.
We're gonna show her the slides real quick before, because you won't.
Oh, there's slides.
Yeah.
Well, just for my own. I'm
Why
actually
didn't
gonna
you
move
tell
a little.
me? Because then I need glasses.
You don't read. Well, you won't have to read them. You're our guest. You don't.
Well,
read.
why can't I read?
Well, you'll hear us talk about them.
Is that
It's
okay?
actually not bad at all.
There you go.
What are you like?
I have
-2, -2.5.
I don't have an idea at all.
You should know your script.
It's
How do you not know your script?
It's somewhere in the house. It's the first time I've had glasses.
You're a terrible glass wearer.
This is the first time I had glasses in 10 years.
It's stronger than what I'm used to. It's like probably double, but
Oh, really? Because
yeah.
they say I have a Mickey Mouse prescription.
You're a Mickey Mouse prescription.
I know.
Whoa.
So these are we do 1-sentence summaries for each chapter. So chapter 15, he's self-conscious and has a crush.
He's self-conscious and has a crush.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, by the way. What the hell is he doing constantly sitting in his wing? What is he translating? He's a fucking beast.
Thank you.
What is
We've
he
talked
How
about
does
that.
he hold a pen?
We've talked because it's really
How do the objects clear the lake? Is the better question.
yeah.
I just.
Do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
No, it's awkward. I don't know.
Well, it's gonna be in the
I'm
middle
just
of
a
the
guest.
episode.
Can I just be
Well-
guest number one?
No, we have to name you.
Because we're gonna be.
We took a little. I'm so glad you find this funny, because when I put it in there, I was like, oh, I think it's funny. I hope she's
I went too far in this book. Which uneventful date is this?
This is when they went
Because there's several.
ice skating.
Oh, yeah.
So we just showed Tanya this is Tanya.
The reason, Tatiana. The
Tatiana,
reason for...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I called you Tanya for, 2 years?
Fine,
now?
call me Tanya.
Tatiana.
No, seriously, I really like Tatiana better.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I always make it easier for people. And
I didn't know
somebody
that.
said to me, just don't introduce yourself, and then people will figure it out.
I called you
And
Tatiana.
I started doing that experiment, and you know what? People have no problem saying my name.
Yeah.
It's cool, you guys are used to it. It's
Well,
fine.
I'm used to it
I'll call you
now.
Tatiana.
Call me Tati.
Tati? No, I'm not going to call you that.
Hot Toddy.
Because someone emailed me and wrote Tati, and I'm like, I wonder if this is just something new that this guy just decided that's what's going to be my name.
This glasses
or
look really
if he
good on you.
started right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
He started writing my name and then got like lazy halfway through.
I remember that story.
I have strong suspicion it is the lazy option.
No, it's
He's like, how does the rest of it go? Never mind.
He throws in a queue.
But
That's
his name is Fabio, and now I've decided I'm going to call him Fabi.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, if I'm going to be a Tati, you're going to be a Fabi.
Can you
and
just call him
there's
Yo?
I don't know if he's going to like that.
Hey, Yo.
I have to be professional.
A-E-I-O-U.
I have to at least give him the honor of 3 or 4 letters.
Well, that's true.
I can do Fob.
Fob.
Hey, Fob.
Anyways, this is
Moving on.
Tatiana.
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
We took a quick hiatus, but we're back.
it was a delicious hiatus.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yes.
And we're going to finish up this episode talking about chapter 18 and 19.
Okay, so that's where we are.
Yeah, because I don't remember. Belle is shook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to read the one-sentence summary?
I would. Oh, so is this... Can we go to the very beginning?
No.
They're one-sentence summaries.
We
How
are-
long can
Yes.
it possibly take?
You want to recap?
Let's do a recap. Why
Of
not?
the last
Just
15.
the summaries.
We only have from 15 on.
Oh, wow. What happened to chapter 1
We
to
didn't
14?
we
We
didn't
just
do this
started
before.
this.
We just started doing this.
So we just decided they're so bad we're just not even going to go?
No,
for it?
well,
We started last episode.
yeah, last episode it was Brittany's idea, and
I
we
just sat there and I said them.
because we weren't really like going through what was happening. We were kind of just saying our thoughts and not giving any structure.
This is like still pretty baby.
Unscripted. I got it.
Unscripted.
All right.
Oh, it's very
so moving
unscripted,
on
yeah.
from chapter 15. Beast is self-conscious and has a crush.
Yep. Chapter 16.
Beast and Belle's first date.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still ice skating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is when they just started ice skating.
Yeah, this is the ice skating part.
It took them a whole chapter? I don't remember.
They were
being a
building
chapter
up
long.
to it.
Well,
They were
yeah, because
building
they
up
had
to
to make sure that he got sick.
No, that was
What are you
after.
talking
No.
about?
Wait, what?
No, wait,
Nothing
okay, hold on.
happened.
What are you talking about?
Stop. No. It's not what you think. Calm down.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Did we go
No.
too far?
Yeah, don't go past, if you can remember, chapter 24, okay? Just stay on the chapter. Wait, no, chapter
Guys.
19. Chapter 19, then next episode we'll go to 20 and 24.
Wait, hold on. You guys chat amongst yourself.
Oh,
Let
wait.
me make sure where I need to not talk.
Okay,
All right.
anyway, all right. So let's
chapter
begin.
18.
You can yeah, you go.
Chip.
Sorry.
Drop some wisdom, and Bella is shook.
She's shook, man.
This is the chapter where she puts Chip to bed in the cupboard, and he's getting all snuggly, and she's like, "Tell me a bedtime story," and she goes into Agath.
Agath? I don't know what
Agatha?
that woman's. I thought it was Agatha, but it's spelled like Agath.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
How would you say that? You probably know more French than either of us.
Why?
Yeah,
Why
but you're
would
right.
you
Europe.
come to that conclusion?
I wonder.
Can't we just Google it like normal human beings?
No.
Agath?
Agath?
Agath.
I don't think it's maybe.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and if it's not, then
I'm
that's
gonna
a
say
failure.
Agath.
I'm gonna say Agath too.
Why couldn't you use a better name?
Yeah, like Agath?
Or just put A. We're American.
No, it's not about us being American. It's about this author not. Well, it actually wasn't her. She's writing characters from the movie, the new movie.
Oh, there's Agath in that movie?
Oh, yes, you missed it, did you?
I
Yeah.
got
my God.
that. I got that.
I don't think that's right.
What'd you
There's
just
no
say?
R.
I got that, yes.
Agathe?
Oh, hang on.
Agate.
Agate?
Agate.
Agate.
Like Yvette, but not really.
Agate.
I think that was more Italian than French.
I was gonna say it sounded Italian. Yeah.
Oh, I get the.
No, that's Italian.
I know. I was making fun of you.
I'm gonna still say agate.
It's agate. Yeah.
No, agate.
No, it's not. There's no. In
They don't
French.
have
TH.
But don't they?
I don't think they have it.
They have z.
Z.
Agate.
Ooh. I'm sorry.
Is that gonna make it in? It should.
I'm the editor. I get to decide.
Oh no, that's so embarrassing.
Brittany, you know what I said the very first episode that I find embarrassing? What was it like? Kids aren't as smart or something, or they're stupid, and you were like, no, they're just not as well knowledge. And I'm like,
Well versed. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
She goes, kids are pretty dumb. I'm like,
Well, I didn't say it that
child.
way. No, your child's very smart. We were talking about that
Yeah.
before you came over.
Are she creepily smart?
No,
And
well,
sneaky as all fuck.
this, yeah.
Yeah.
We curse.
13? We
no,
curse?
no, you can curse.
Oh, cursing is good. Thank God.
Anyway, what I was gonna say was they commented on going back home, and I mentioned when we went camping, and we would keep saying, "Okay, we're gonna go home now," and she would be like, "We're going home? Why are we going home?" We're like, "Well, we're not going home. We're going back to the
home.
tent."
Our new home.
Yeah.
The tent where we're frozen.
Yeah.
Peddlers.
Hmm.
She
Yes.
loved it.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah, she asked when Danielle and I are going back.
Mm. They open in May. The
They
last
do.
week of April into
You're
May.
so full of information. I wouldn't even know about this without you.
Dude, Knobles.
It's amazing.
I know, I love it.
I
It's
love
my
it.
childhood. Did you love it?
Oh yeah, I love
Good,
Knobles.
I'm
We
glad.
had fun.
Yeah.
It was
Alright.
a little cold though.
So
Yeah.
Chip comes in. Oh no, he doesn't. He's going to bed, and Belle's tucking him in, and she tells him the story of Agate.
Yes.
Agate. And what was the man's name? It was Agate.
Remy.
Remy.
Oh, you can't see without your glasses. huh?
No, I can't. It's okay. So go ahead, Danielle. Looks like you have something
No,
to say.
I'm thinking about how I want to say this, so just give me a
So-
minute. Yeah.
This is what I don't like about this book, because we talked about reoccurring themes a couple times. So this theme about how there is a broken soul and somebody comes around and fixes the person is pounded again and again and again. And this is, what, the third time we're seeing this same storyline being portrayed in just a different allegory.
It's like encouraging the Belle saving the beast thing
Exactly.
again over. So what we talk about a lot is like how in the original 1991 movie, ever since that movie, anything that has come out about Beauty and the Beast since then is basically a story of Belle trying to fix the beast, including this story. That's her goal in life. She just wants to figure out what's wrong with him and fix him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just constantly harped on. And you could see, like, that's what Agatha did, where she's talking to Remy and she, like, fixed him. And she's like, oh, she's the bravest person I know.
Yeah.
And I wish I could be as brave as her. And it's, like, so in your face, like, the message. And it's annoying.
It's the walk up, not walk out kind of thing. I don't know if you guys have seen that whole movement from the...
What do
No,
you
that's a whole other can of worms. But basically, it's the fixing the tortured soul.
Yeah.
Basically, bad things won't happen if you put the effort in. And it glorifies what you were saying before. Belle is always put on the pedestal
Yeah,
when
for
she
sure.
has so many character flaws in this story. And
She's an idiot.
She's an idiot. I don't like her in this story at all. Go ahead, Tanya. You look like...
No, I just
Tatiana's
want
like-
more.
Sorry. Oh, you want more?
You can call me Tanya. It's fine.
I know, but I want to do it the way you want it because it's your name. So, but one quote from when she's talking about everything in the story, Belle says to Chip, "Love is not for cowards."
It's just... It's... The Disney princess thing, they're always pushing this message of the infallible woman. And with this story, they were trying to make Belle more feminist. Like, that was a very obvious goal that they went for. They said it in behind-the-scenes stuff. They wanted her to be more feminist than Belle already was in the original movie.
She was pretty feminist in the original,
Yeah,
too.
it's...
Like, I don't know why, I don't know how you can make it more.
That's only... I love Emma Watson. Don't let me... I will never, like, say... not never, but I don't like to criticize her. But in this regard, I do, because she was a big force behind that. A lot of the things that they did creatively, I'm not saying they were all her choice, but she was actively, like, forcing that. And to me, it shows a huge misunderstanding, which usually, I think she's pretty intelligent most of the time. She
went to Brown.
Yeah, like, she's really refreshing, I find, when it comes to celebrities and politics and stuff. This was a huge miss. And they're carrying it over. Like, this book is directly carried over from all that decision making.
I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're coming from.
Like, why?
I don't agree with you because I understand why it was I understand where the feminist push was, but I didn't think it was pushing an agenda that is not necessarily true to the book, the original story. Because, like I said, it is very pro-female, the original story. And I understand that Disney glorifies the whole, but I don't think it glorifies the woman. I think it glorifies love. Because love is messy. It is so messy. It's not, you can't just go into it. You know, it takes a lot of work and effort, and it's not magical, and you shouldn't marry people after a song.
Well, sorry. I agree with you, but I don't think that's not what I'm getting at.
I'm confused about what you're saying.
Like, that, okay, so when Belle, when she's at the castle, and she takes her father's place.
Yes.
And she goes to the room, and she just starts crying. Like, it's nothing, it's just...
In the original or the...
In the original.
Okay.
They instead changed it so that instead of her crying, they would have her get some, I guess, bed sheets, tie them together, and try to climb out the window. And there's this, like, this comes into play with, like, Harry Potter, once again, in the movies.
I don't think that's feminist, though. I think that's just, I think that's more real.
I don't think that's more real. Like...
You don't think that you would try the first way to escape?
Eventually, I think she would, but I say that stuff not because I'm, like, making it up in my head. Like, they actively would say these things in, like, behind-the-scenes commentary. That's what I'm saying. I think
they're using feminists wrong.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
I don't think that's feminist.
Like, it's less human.
I think it's more human. In my perspective, that would be the first thing I do. That would be the very first thing I do.
But are you Belle, who honors her word? She gives her word.
And that's a good point, too.
And that's her character.
She's trading herself for her father's freedom. Mm-hmm. She gives him her word that she's now basically his hostage, so whatever.
Yeah.
The chances of her going into the bedroom and crying because of what just happened is so much more realistic than all of a sudden she's wrapped up to, like, escape.
And I'm not saying she
gave someone a word, whether he's a beast or not a beast or whatever. Belle supposedly is a woman of her word. Mm-hmm. She's very,
it's like her
big
identifier.
On honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the first thing she's gonna do when she goes into the room is try to escape. I agree, maybe eventually.
But can we just remember, though, too, that in the 1991 version, right after that scene where she's crying, the beast comes to her room and starts banging on the door, and she gives it right back to him. Like, to me, that's a very feminist thing. That she's sticking up for herself, that she's not taking his shit, that she's just, like...
I think we need to redefine what feminine
why is that mean. Feminine? How old is this girl?
I'm not, no, feminine. I'm not, I didn't
feminist. I think,
or maybe I shouldn't even be saying feminist.
I think that's where it's coming
down I shouldn't
to,
be saying feminist.
Where we're having a disagreement because the feminist just means fighting for the equality for male and female.
Well,
so her crying or jumping out of the window with tied bed sheets is not fighting for wanting equality for men and women. So that's where I'm getting.
I guess I'm talking about feminists in the Hollywood sense of it. Okay. Like, Hollywood loves to put
dramatized.
Yeah, basically. So in there are, like, some people who will talk about, like, the Harry Potter films and talk about Hermione and how they sort of made her this infallible kind of human being compared in the books when she's really not. They're very different characters. And they talk about...
Well, thank you.
They looked very good. I was going to say, you can hardly tell. That it's not feminist in the way that we're talking about it, but Hollywood, I'm not going to say they have an agenda because I don't agree with that, but they do things to make a work seem more feminist. Like, so they're saying, oh, we're pro-woman. See, we had her do this. And I'm not saying I agree with that because I think it's dumb. I guess I'm just talking about how Hollywood thinks.
This goes back to the discussion we had in a previous episode. A woman doesn't know she's weak until you tell her she's strong.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like...
So it's not about feminism. It's about empowering little girls who are going to watch this movie versus how this movie was in 1991.
Yeah.
So don't lie there and cry. Do something about it. So it's more about empowerment. It has nothing to do with feminism.
Yeah.
But once again, how old is this girl? It all comes down to
she
is a pretty young girl. Let's say late teens.
Yeah,
She's portrayed in the book and
is growing up in what pretty old-fashioned times where women
we don't
know. They don't specify, and it's like driving us
the way
along.
that the
after
women
Shakespeare
are treated,
after Shakespeare,
and how the men behave, like Gaston. It gives you an idea of where her place really should be, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then her father is the complete opposite. And it seems like he's raising a pretty educated, well-rounded girl who is already empowered.
Right,
and she goes to the bedroom and she cries. But you know what? It doesn't take a coward to trade places in such a situation with someone.
Yeah.
You know, so she's strong. She's just allowed to have her moments.
I guess my point is that the
you feel that
they tried to
overdoing it.
Yeah, they just tried to change something that wasn't broken. They tried to fix something that wasn't broken. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
see.
Yeah. I guess what's this long conversation was eventually getting to.
No, that's fine because it brings up important issues. Because if you are writing a book like this and you want a certain message to come across, as soon as you cross that threshold of it being suffocating, people are going to turn off and not listen to your message. And you feel like it's basically suffocating the message.
Yeah.
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 So anyways, so she tucks Chip into bed.
Yes. And that's when she tells the story.
Tells the story about Agatha saving Remy from himself, basically, because Remy's son died. And he's like, my son! And he throws down a pitchfork, and Agatha was the only one in town to reach out to him. And Chip drops some wisdom, basically saying, that's like Beast. So, and that's basically what we get from this chapter. And
yeah, it's a pretty in-your-face moral chapter. But I thought it was cool, though. I don't know if you guys noticed this, when Agatha's talking to Remy, and she talks about death. And she calls death a her or she. I thought that was interesting.
You let her win or something.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like, I wonder, like, what the lore... This is going way too deep, but, like, what's the lore in this world? Like, do they know about love and death? Like, do they tell stories about them?
Well, that brings up another good point, because Agatha laughed. This is from Belle telling the story. Agatha laughed. You think life is the vanquisher of death? It's not. Love is. Life is fragile. Life ends. But love lives forever. So she's making two references, not just one, to death and love.
Right.
Which were referenced in the prologue.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and I agree with you that there might be more lore in this fantasy world than we know of.
Yeah.
I also don't agree. I don't think that love wins over death.
Yeah, because that's such a misleading message. I don't even know how to tackle that, to be honest. Like,
I don't. We talked about before. I don't like love and death being opposites to one another.
Yeah.
We are on page 112. Oh, I'm on page 112. So I don't agree with them being posed as opposites for one another.
Yeah.
Because it is such a common trope in literature, opposites, life and death. but it just doesn't make for a good storyline for Beauty and the Beast, because they have to have love in there.
I think this whole, I mean, obviously this book has been really obsessed with talking about love and how Belle is the only person who follows her heart all the time. This obsession, like, with this whole heart metaphor that really, like, never existed in the first place, they're just really trying to hammer it in. That could, to me, like, it's almost like the message overpowers the actual story. Like, you could tell they wanted to get a message in there, and they were just kind of going over, like, jumping over the stepping stones, kind of, like, just getting through it.
Speaking of jumping, I will jump in
Okay.
and go back a little bit and say that it's very possible that the reason they reference death as female in the stories because, well, it is French, right? They're in France.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Death is feminine.
Oh, in the language?
Romantic languages, death is feminine.
Okay.
Oh, we didn't know that. That's really cool.
So it's not masculine in all of them. I think, I want to say Latin and romantic languages, it's feminine.
Now, how much do you know French? Do you know?
Zero.
Zero? Okay.
Oui.
That's
about
it. Because we had a question about before, and I was curious whether or not you can answer this. We had last chapter. Was it last chapter already? Basically, Beast is talking about how they're talking about the curse and how only love can break the curse. And at the very end of the chapter, Beast had said that he had grown to care for his servants. Now, we've heard before in this book, and I'm just strictly talking about this book, that the servants care for Beast and Beast cares for the servants. That's love. Yeah. And if the spell truly broke by love, it would have been reversed by now. Because they are talking, they want it to be romantic love.
Hold on a second.
So that's what I was going to ask about French.
I think that you're forgetting that the spell is specifically meant to be broken by new love. Someone who does not know him, only sees the Beast, has no idea what's inside, but then is able to see past the Beast on the outside. All his servants have known him since he was a little boy. And in this specific book, they go so far as to even explain how they understand why he became a terrible person because he has such an awful childhood. So they love him from beginning. They understand him. They have empathy, or not empathy, but they have pity for him. They already love him. They've already seen past that before it even came to happen.
Okay. Did they say, my question is though, because I don't remember it, did they say new love?
They don't say it, but
inferring,
but
because
the whole point of the curse is, that someone should see past that and love him. That
beauty comes from within.
They didn't always love him. This was a recent development.
Who didn't always love him?
The servants. The servants didn't always love him.
Well, I think they cared about him.
Was it Potts?
Yeah.
Mrs. Potts. Yeah, Mrs. Potts. They've known him since he was a little boy, and he was such a nice little boy, and he was just like his mother, and his mother died, and he grew up this awful person of a father, and he became just like him because it's kind of like what is it called, a beast dad, or was a bear? What is the example they used?
The lion? Are you talking about the lion?
I'm talking about the bear that gets that's made to
the bear and the dog reference. That there's a bear in the square. When you corner
a bear in the square,
and
he's made to fight dogs, then he'll appear fearsome because he's just trying to survive. He's scared.
Even though all bears are pretty rough regardless.
But what I'm saying is her story basically says, like, we knew him since he was a boy. Like, he wasn't always like this. You have to look past this kind of deal.
That makes sense now that you say that.
Yeah.
So, that now makes sense. Because, like, even in the original movie, like, in the prologue, they actually, like, the narrator actually says...
New love?
He doesn't say new love, but he basically says somebody has to fall in love with him, but not by appearances, for beauty is found within.
Okay.
Like, the enchantress says that to him.
Oh, see, I don't remember... I haven't watched that original movie in so long.
Well, I guess we shouldn't even reference it.
No, it's not that. It's just that I wanted to bring up the point. It doesn't say that in this book.
Well, this book, yeah.
Because this book does not reference that at all. Not really.
Exactly.
No, actually,
that's why I
yeah.
have such a problem with it.
Yeah.
Because as someone, I know the story of Beauty and the Beast, but I'm not fluent in it. So picking up this story as it should be, like, be able to read alone, because that's one of...
Really?
Yeah.
Is this supposed to be a read-alone story?
You
So someone who's never read Beauty and the Beast should be able to pick
I
up.
don't-
good story
Yeah.
should be able to pick up wherever. Even in
Yeah.
a series. You could pick up any series. Like, if you... Harry Potter. It's a well-known book that we call a reference. If you pick up the third book,
You'll still enjoy it.
you'll still enjoy it, and you'll still know what happens in the first two because they reference it clearly. You don't get the clear reference in this, and that's why I get caught up on the semantics of it, because it's not clear to me as someone that is separating herself from the original book and the original movie.
And this goes back to what we were talking about fairy tales. When a Disney remakes something into a fairy tale, i.e. Frozen, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, it becomes the definitive fairy tale. Like, Americans don't know anything else for the most part, unless...
my god, they'll have a rude awakening with, like, Hans Andersen.
Exactly.
Oh, I love...
Grimm Brothers. Those are not pretty fairy tales.
Right.
Not at all.
I think almost everyone there is miserable and dies.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because they're not supposed to be fairy tales.
They're
supposed
not.
to be. They're supposed to be like not metaphors.
They're not even allegory. I mean,
They're
they're
like
sometimes allegory. They're
twisted.
always different, though.
parables. They're supposed to be
Parables, yeah, that's
because
true.
they're supposed to teach a lesson. Don't go into the woods. You'll be eaten. Don't trust strangers.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm talking about Red Riding Hood.
yeah,
You know, don't trust a stranger. You'll be eaten.
right.
You know,
They're not meant to be cutesy.
they're not supposed
cutesy Disney movies.
Exactly.
They are assuming writing this book that you are informed and you know the story.
Yeah.
I don't think they assume that a random person's going to pick up this book.
Oh no. No, I agree. A random person.
I'm pretty sure a random person is not going to pick up this book.
Why would they? Yeah.
But if I have
I
a
most
kid,
certainly would not have picked up this book.
yeah.
And I don't
If
blame
I
you.
wasn't enticed
I don't blame you at
with
all.
the promise of a microphone.
Oh, and mochi, you guys. You
Oh,
know?
Yeah, I
what
know.
what
Should we eat the
happened with
mochi?
It's right there. There's mango and cookies and cream.
Oh, I want mango. Can you throw one at me?
Throw one at you?
Oh, I mean, don't like literally throw. Okay,
Here.
fine. Literally throw one at me.
I don't.
Open it.
I've never had mochi before.
Oh, I thought you had one.
No, I didn't eat one.
I will say
Oh.
it's dairy.
It's dairy.
Yeah.
Ice
Well-
cream.
You guys.
Do you want some pills?
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
Is
it's
this gonna
ice
make it
cream.
into the show? All about my lactose pills?
Oh, you have lactose pills too?
Hell yeah, I do.
Oh my god.
How does a girl gotta enjoy her chocolate milkshake?
By not being lactose intolerant.
That happened well into my adulthood. That is not something I can turn off.
This is
All I know is one day I was enjoying chocolate milkshakes,
And you
and the
weren't
next day I was
enjoying
no
it.
longer enjoying. Well, I was still enjoying them. I just wasn't enjoying the afterward.
That's so funny.
Oh no!
It's okay. It's only
The whole
rice
thing
flour.
moved on the inside. It's really creepy.
What?
The whole thing moved on the inside?
Yeah, it, like adjusted itself.
Oh, that's because it's melting a bit.
I feel like I'm biting into someone's ball.
Ah, oh. That's up to Danielle.
What?
She said she feels like she's biting into a.
Yeah, I
someone's-
heard that part.
And I said that might not be in it. It's up to you.
Oh.
I think it should be in there because it's exactly what it is.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, I'll leave it in there. If that's okay with you, Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'll be the inappropriate guest.
Perfect.
That's fine.
So, anything else I have to say about 18?
Let's see. I have to go through. Oh yeah,
I think
these
it's
are
silly.
my notes.
She wonders if she can be brave like a gat.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She literally traded places with her father to stay with the beast.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's scarier or braver on her part than, you know, what a god did.
Belle's a dum dum.
She's
Yeah.
not a dum-dum.
In this
She's
book,
a
she
young,
is.
emotional woman.
No, she's dumb in this book.
If for a book that's portraying her to be the smartest in the land, she's dumb.
Who says she's smarter than a man?
The book does.
This says.
Where'd you read that?
Oh, they
Maybe not smartest, but perfect. So basically.
Love and Death in the prologue were like, she is different. Like, she is so, like, she loves with her full heart. She's beautiful. She's smart. And, like, that's referenced quite a few times. The fact that she had a Shakespearean battle with the one guy in Neverland.
Nevermore.
Nevermore, excuse me. Are you okay?
So she memorizes. I got a brain freeze.
Your face.
Well, but this Shakespearean actor who's supposed to memorize and didn't.
He didn't expect a woman.
Well, no, but he still gets flustered. So it's alluding that she's smarter.
Or she's just a better memorizer? Is that a word?
No, but that's okay.
I
don't think
like
so.
how you're just like offhandedly telling me I'm wrong.
No, I'm just saying. I have
I
mochi
think-
all over
I
me.
think you're wrong.
Okay, you can look up this one.
By
It's
memorizer?
probably a word.
Memorizer?
I don't think that's a word.
It doesn't sound like a word, but it
It's
sounds
not
like it should
a
be.
person who memorizes.
Sorry, I can't really talk right now.
But no, you're right. Like, she wonders if she could be brave like
Yeah,
Agatha.
Agatha.
And
It is a little out of context.
it is a little out of context
Yeah.
because she's literally doing what Agatha is doing,
Right.
had done. You know, and it just, I don't know. It feels out of place, as you said.
Yeah. All right, chapter 19. Let's do our one sentence recap.
Do you want to? Do the
Yes.
one sentence recap?
Late night romp in the library?
Wink face.
That was a great
So-
reading.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
And I'm not
perfect.
even wearing my glasses.
Good
I'm
job.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
Good job.
I read well.
You
I
do.
give good read.
Or do you just memorize? Are you a memorizer?
Oh no!
I'm
Shots
just
fired!
being a
Shots
dick.
fired!
I'm sorry.
I could be a good memorizer.
Could you now?
I memorized my way through most of college.
There you go.
Good job.
But only for like 2 weeks period. 2 week
Why
periods.
am I
yeah.
not wearing my glasses?
Why aren't you wearing your
I don't
glasses?
know, I'm
If you're not going to wear them, I'll wear
Raining
them.
right now.
One of us has to be wearing your glasses. One of us has to be able to see.
Okay.
You okay there?
I'm dying. Okay. So, chapter 19 is, I feel like it was pretty short. There wasn't a lot of development.
Yeah.
It was the longest chapter, but it just didn't
Oh, there is
develop.
another story about saving somebody.
Yes, thank you. And so Belle's in the library. She can't sleep,
Yeah.
and she trips over a book. And it's like, oh, that silly Chip, leaving his books everywhere. And it's the old story of, how do you say his name? And
Androcles.
And drop.
Androcles.
Hold on a second. Put my glasses on. Your glasses on.
Androcles.
Androcles.
Androcles. Oh,
Yeah,
very
let's
nice.
stick with that.
Androcles and the lion. And it's basically the
No,
The
I
lion
think
and the
it's
mouse.
Androcles the lion.
no.
So that's where I was confused. I forgot.
No.
if you...
Androcles was the man.
He's
and
the
then it's just
man?
the lion.
Okay.
Well, then
Yeah.
I think you put your comment in the wrong place in your
The
little
lion.
presentation over there for chapter 19.
I didn't know who
that
it
is
was.
you.
I didn't know who it was, if he was the lion or the man.
Why don't you just look it up?
Because I didn't
Google is a
want to.
wonderful place to spend your
Listen,
time.
we've spent so much time on this book already. I don't want to spend any more.
Well,
Like,
we have to,
Googling
Brittany.
it.
Like,
I am so tired of this book.
yeah.
Ugh.
And
But-
she's not.
Skip 14 chapters.
No, we didn't.
Get tired of
No,
this
we
book.
didn't skip 14
So you
chapters.
discussed them?
Yeah.
Oh, because there was no slide, I think.
We didn't have a slide. We didn't have.
Hey,
we didn't make
no
slides.
slide, no care.
So basically, it's the story of the lion and the mouse. That's what it comes down to.
What is it, though? How do you know you didn't Google this?
Because I know the story of the lion and the mouse, and I read the book.
All right, children. There's a lot of
Glasses on.
Doing it right now. Go on, Danielle.
what? Okay. Oh, I thought you said God, Danielle, but you
No,
said go
go
on, and
on.
I'm like, what? Like, I'm flustered now. Okay. So my notes, I wrote down that there's an interesting story to be had here, and unfortunately, we're not getting it. Like
Agreed.
Belle's distraught. She loves books, and she's having difficulty adjusting to her new situation. I think it'd be really cool to actually see her go to the library and try to figure it out through books. Like, that'd be actually really cool, and see her become like proactive with it and stuff, but instead we get this. Has she talked to the Beast yet?
No.
Is this the chapter?
No, the next chapter is when she talks.
See how
To
it's
the
the last
Beast.
line on your slide?
Oh yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. So I just wish that they would let Belle's story just kind of let her sort of dictate it more, like give her more agency to her story.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this, so I'm kind of repeating things, but it's another example where I just hate like where the story takes her, and I say that with love.
What, to the kitchen for some warm milk?
No, not the warm
Beef
milk.
with warm milk.
No, not the warm
With
milk.
honey.
Oh, wait,
part.
I know, because you're lactose intolerant.
Ah.
The truth comes out.
Yes.
She just
That's what it's been the whole time.
Whenever there's milk involved, I'm done.
She goes to the
I
kitchen
can't
for some
do it.
warm milk.
Oh God.
With
ridiculous.
honey. With honey. You're
With
forgetting
honey.
the honey.
Oh, did I not put
Does she
the honey?
in there?
Yeah,
Yeah, she does.
Honey and milk.
I've never
is
had
great.
warm milk.
Neither have I.
It sounds
I
absolutely
did never. I
disgusting.
never
It's-
knew that hot chocolate most people made with milk until
Oh,
like
really?
You
I
add
always
it
did
for
water.
Consistency.
I always had water.
That sounds like some watery hot chocolate.
It's like putting water in your oatmeal.
I put water in my
I
oatmeal.
put milk in my oatmeal.
What? Really?
Don't even
How
get
do
me
you, like-
started. We don't even make soup on water.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you only have cream-based soup?
No, that's gross. Plus, I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh.
I would starve to death. Well, I wouldn't starve to death, but I would certainly not come out of the bathroom. But no, we make it on stock.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it certainly takes a lot longer than making it on water, but
get the
that's the
bouillon
thing here in
cubes.
this country, or at least here
I've
in
never
this area.
I've never made soup with water.
You what?
I use broth and bouillon cubes if I only have water. And that's
Well, you're the right stuff.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
don't even talk to me, okay? Water and hot chocolate.
So Belle in The Enchanted Christmas. It's a terrible movie, but I hope we can watch it if we get a Patreon, because that's gonna be fun.
Oh, yeah.
That movie sucks so much. It's so fun to make
Wait,
fun
do
of.
we need a Patreon to watch the movie?
Special content.
Yeah, special content. People pay us to keep this show going because we do this for free. They give us money, and they get special stuff, like us reviewing The Enchanted Christmas.
Exactly.
I see.
So it's paid content.
Uh-huh.
Pay-per-view.
Got it. Kind of like my porn.
How do you pay for it?
I don't pay for it anymore.
Children,
Oh, I'm sorry.
just focus. Anyway, so my only point to make at this part.
I think you're sure.
Sure, I just said that. Yeah, I'm sure. I think we're really tired right now.
Oh my god, I'm
Somebody's
so
phone
tired.
just vibrated.
That'll be mine.
I can hear that.
Everything vibrates when I'm
I think
around.
we're only gonna
Wow,
get one episode
this is
in
not
today.
Potterotica.
Yeah, Potterotica podcast.
Yeah, go
Bye.
check it out. My point. Can I get to my point?
Faster, go faster.
Okay, well, she tries to get through to the Beast with a book. She makes a book in The Enchanted Christmas. She's doing that again. Okay, that's my point. Anyway. Okay.
I'm gonna poop myself. I'm laughing so hard.
All right, so that ends our episode.
Do we like clap or something?
No, but now we can. So next episode, we're going to be talking about chapters 20 through 24. Talk about 5 chapters every episode, so you can look forward to that. You want to tell them what our social media is?
We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Goodreads.
Yes.
Um,
Anything else? Did I leave anything out? I felt like I did.
I don't think. No,
think
you have
we're
everything.
good.
We're on
Yeah.
Twitter?
Yeah, we are on Twitter.
Yeah.
I guess I should get an account or something.
I guess.
You have an account. I follow you
well-
on Twitter.
We'll
You
give-
do?
You don't follow me. How
Do I
rude
do
is that?
anything on
So
Twitter?
rude.
No.
Okay, well then.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Yeah. You did something once, and I was like, oh, she's on Twitter. And then that was it. Where can you listen to us? Well, you can listen on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, hopefully Spotify, or just on our website at
Oh, go ahead.
BaBaT podcast. Oh, we should tell that story real quick. Can we?
So this is like the fourth time we're telling it. Our website is BaBaT podcast, right? BaBaT podcast. I read it as BoBaT, BoBaT podcast, and so like I was like all excited. I was like, yeah, we'll drink boba tea every episode. And
Love boba tea.
what?
Love boba tea.
Well, I like boba tea too. So like our first episode, we got it. We're drinking the tapioca and like, and then Danielle spelled out the name of our website, BaBaT podcast.com, and I was like, no, it's BoBaT podcast, and she goes, no, it's not. It's books as bad as Twilight. And I'm like, oh. I thought it was Book Bad Twilight podcast.
That was when you were shook.
Then
right
I
there,
was
yeah.
shook. I was woke in that moment.
You were woke, yeah.
So
true.
I can't read. That's basically what it comes down to.
I could understand that.
Boba tea. So, BaBaT.
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 Podcast.com.
Yes. And that ends it for us for this
Oh,
episode.
that's what the invitation was.
Yeah.
Oh, I never actually clicked on it.
Wow.
Oh, that expired.
Where are you sure?
What invitation?
No, I clicked on it. I did, and then I got really confused about everything in general. So
I was at the website.
yeah, I'm
The
not very
website
good
on
at this
Google.
stuff. I just talk a lot. Can I just be like the talking person?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. Anyway.
Oh, excuse me.
I think we should just like stop recording. Don't even like do a sign off.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Or good morning.